All right, it is three.
Matt, I think you froze. Maybe. Matt, I think you have to start again. All right, bear with us, folks. I think we're having some technical difficulties.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties apparently. Is there any changes to the agenda?
Matt, can you call the meeting to order again? I'm sorry, you froze right there when we live streamed.
Yeah, sure. It's 5:36 and calling the meeting to order. Are there any changes to the agenda? Okay, I'm not hearing any. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I move we approve the agenda.
Okay, it's been moved by Kathleen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Tommy. All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the agenda is approved. We are now on the minutes from our last meeting on June 7th. If there are no changes to the agenda, is there a motion to approve, or any changes to the minutes? If there are no changes, is there a motion to approve as presented?
Motion to approve as presented.
All right, it's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the minutes from June 7th is approved. And now we'll move to our contract partners, and I'll turn it over to Shannon.
Thanks. Sarah, I have the Alliance going first. Did you want to share your screen, or did you want me to play your PowerPoint for you?
Do you mind?
No, I don't mind.
Awesome.
Can you all see that?
Yep.
Thanks, Shannon. That's great. So this is just the overview, includes, what I'm going to be talking about briefly tonight. And it's very similar to what you've seen in the preceding 3 quarters. This just wraps up the fiscal year. So you can go on to the next slide. And the overview summary really, we don't have to, I won't read through this. You probably read it in the report. It's taken directly from that report. But really what we've been doing through the 4th quarter is continuing to manage the tourism program, that the scope of work and the services that are outlined in our existing contract, including our tours and our special events like our Lunch and Learns, our Revolutionary War Living History Day, and then we're excited to host the Say Their Names exhibit on the grounds here at the Visitor Center. If you haven't had a chance to come and look at that, it's a really, really great exhibit, and that is still up. You can go to the next slide. All right. So the one of our most popular things that we've done this quarter and was exciting for us was the Lunch and Learn series. And we did that in collaboration with our partners at the Burwell School and the museum. And that was just a really fantastic series of events. We had Lunch and Learn. So it was a lunchtime webinar or a Zoom session that was led by a local historian or a community member. And we had different topics like Hillsborough in the 1850s and the Old Town Cemetery tour and just a general history of Hillsborough. And we found that these were incredibly successful programs because not only did they reach people here in the community and local people in North Carolina, but out of state, folks that are out of state. So that was a real success. Next slide. And then we worked on additions to our already existing walking tours, including 5 additional sites of African American significance that are a part of our African American history tour of Hillsborough. So we expanded the existing guided walking tour. And then we partnered with Barney Caton from Tourism Board on the Churton Street History Stroll, which was really exciting. It launched in June and it was our first tour since COVID began. That was a great success. And then Rev War Living History Day, which is always popular. It's something we've done for a long time. We had over 500 people attend this. We moved it. Typically, this is done in February. And we bring in reenactors and other groups that do living history, such as historic interpretations. And we partner with our sites at Burwell and the museum on this event as well. And that was a big success. And then here's the Say Their Names exhibit. You have a picture of the folks with Free Spirit Freedom and poet laureates. And then I think Don Young there was the photographer for that event. And these panels there are 4 pretty large panels that are still, as I said, they're still up here at the Visitor Center. In terms of marketing and promotion, we did event listings and our kiosk signs for downtown in terms of our print marketing. On social media, we had digital Facebook ads for spring outdoor music, the Rev War Living History Day, and the Lunch and Learn series. And then our e-newsletters had different themes depending on the month. In terms of other marketing, we advertised heavily on WUNC at the end of the quarter and then worked with the team at WRAL on a spotlight campaign that ran from April to June. And what that was, we've talked about it in previous meetings. I think Shannon discussed this at our June meeting, but there were a series of articles that were written about Hillsborough, and those articles ran again. It was a rerun of a previous campaign. The marketing and promotion, this is what the June kiosk sign looks like that we produce. And then in terms of other tourism marketing, we have, our maps and our brochures and other print material that we supply here at the Visitor Center and that we take along Riverwalk and to other sites like the Sportsplex and visitor information centers. And then the data analysis, for our visitor tracking, we have a sign-in sheet here at the Visitor Center, and we estimate that we served about 80 people from Hillsborough, and then tourists, folks who are not from Hillsborough, we consider tourists 833 for the quarter. In terms of volunteer tracking, we have 2 volunteers that are back full-time, logging 63 volunteer hours for the 4th quarter. Our successes, we feel like, as I said, we've reached a much wider audience through our virtual programs, such as the Lunch and Learns and the Rev War event. Churton Street Stroll and the Say Their Names exhibit attracted visitors to downtown Hillsborough and folks that might not otherwise have come, we saw coming to check out that exhibit. Our challenges, mask compliance by visitors, folks just not wanting to wear their mask and being put off by being asked to wear a mask. And then upcoming events, continuation of virtual programming. We're going to keep doing that. I have on here full reopening in September 2021. Well, surprise, surprise, Delta's here. So we're not doing a full reopening. We are going to continue doing what we're doing now. And my plan is to update you guys in September and see what things are looking like. And we're just going to take it month by month in terms of reopening. Reformatting and publishing the new edition of our self-guided walking tour booklet. That will be happening. And then launching our Women's History Walking Tour and finalization of the Women's Walking Tour itself. So that's what we've got. Any questions or comments? Thank you.
If there's no questions,
Thank you.
we can move forward with our next presentation. I guess we'll just go in order here. Next would be Burwell School with Brooks Gravener for that.
Brooks, did you want me to share the PowerPoint?
Always. Yes, please. So while that's queuing up, we'll briefly, just as Sarah did, walk through the Q4 activities and highlights, and then talk briefly about recent activities. Great. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Great. So if you'll just scroll to the first slide, and that tells you what's in the program. There we go. Boilerplate. There we go. So briefly, what marked Q4 was the return to in-person programming. So in April, we held a poetry reading. We did that in the garden area, so we could do that outside, and the weather cooperated, and that was very well received. And we had to have people register through Eventbrite to limit the numbers, to preserve social distancing. And it was fully subscribed, and I think everybody had a great time. Also, in April, we completed the video series that we did because of the pandemic. We moved our programming, of course, online, and we also did 3 videos on the Burwell family, and then we wrapped that up with a fairly extensive, about a 20-minute video on the life and significance of Elizabeth Keckley, and that was co-narrated by Sarah Stevens and our site manager, Kate Dubuth. So as Sarah's already referenced, our participation in May was in collaboration with the Alliance and the museum, participating in Revolutionary War Day, and also in one of those lunch and learn programs. So again, that's a point of emphasis for us moving forward, is to do things in collaboration. And that's also true of this June program, which was held to align the Burwell School with the museum's program emphasis on date night. And so we wanted to talk about 19th century clothing. Again, this was very well received by the public, and we did it in such a way that we could utilize our outdoor space. So we had exhibits set up under tents outdoors, as well as in several of the rooms. So people didn't have to be massed together for long periods of time. They could go from station to station, learn about various aspects of 19th century clothing, and then move through. So again, we're trying to be smarter about how we do programming that both takes advantage of the assets of the site and works well at the Burwell School, and also helps to do programming in our current environment with COVID-19. So coming up, now this is already passed, but it was launching Q1. We did another in-person event utilizing the outdoor spaces of the site. Very well received. The heirloom tomato picnic and tasting. Well over 100 people came and participated. I'm assuming that Wits Custard did box office business. They had a stand up, and the Colonial Inn had a stand up serving Bloody and Virgin Marys. I think the Bloody Marys clearly were more popular than the unleaded version. But all aspects of the program, I think, were well received. I know Matt was there. Others of you may have been there. But that's the kind of programming that I think Burwell's going to want to do in terms of on-site events, and we'll have something similar with a Star Party next month. A couple of other things to note. Well, here you go. Major successes this quarter. We were open. Happy to be open. We recruited new volunteers, received a grant for interpretive signage and research initiatives from North Carolina Preservation Consortium. And roll to the next slide. We have new rack cards up at the visitor center and of course at the site and at other venues. We've done a lot of work cleaning up the grounds, and we're continuing to work on the research infrastructure, how we catalog our collection, how we store our data. All of that's being worked on as well. Okay. Really happy with the volunteer hours we logged this quarter, way up over previous pandemic quarters, as people are willing to come back to the site, even if they're working in very small groups and wearing masks. Volunteering is up, and we think we had 143 folks in Q4 on site and 274 logged in online. So there you have it. Also, just a few other more on the administrative side. Two things that are going well, and one thing to flag and note that we're trying to work through. There was an unhappy and unexpected event. So one positive thing on the administrative side is we've restructured our agreement with the Alliance, and that's worked well for the first month, and appreciate the willingness of the Alliance and Sarah to facilitate that changeover. For all of you, what that means is basically that the Burwell employees are now Burwell employees and not being employed through the Alliance. But in other ways, in terms of scope of work and contracted services that we appreciate the Alliance providing for us, those continue to be in place and have been invaluable, especially because in mid-June, our site manager resigned to take a full-time job at Cup of Joe's. That was Cup of Joe's gain and our loss. We really were sorry to see Kate Dubas leave us, but I'm happy to report that we have a new site manager who will be starting up in the next couple of weeks. And so that's a very happy development for us. In the meantime, we've bridged our operational needs by having our historical coordinator, Carrie Curry, step up to handle some administrative tasks, and also by relying on our relationship with the Alliance to provide much needed help with publicity and promotion. Now, something that came out of the blue last week was an announcement to us from the IRS that they have automatically revoked our tax exempt status. Oh joy, oh joy. We think this is related to a failure on the part of the IRS to read their mail and process it properly. But we've got our accountant working to resolve this. We've also reached out to David Price's office and Tom Tillis's office to help effect better communication with the IRS and try to get this resolved as quickly as possible. As you know, the Burwell School, because of our recent unpleasantness under a former director, has a number of outstanding issues with the IRS, and because of their backlog and getting things up and running, it's been very, very difficult to get these things resolved satisfactorily. But we're doing the best we can, dealing with an agency that isn't as, what can I say, isn't as spiffy as we would like it to be. So I can come back and give you an update on that when I know more about exactly how that's going to get resolved. But didn't want to let this opportunity go by without at least flagging that as something that we're working on. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Brooks. And if there's anything we can do to help on that front, let us know.
Thank you.
And are there any questions for Brooks on that report?
Yeah, is it premature to ask who has stepped into Kate's position, Brooks? Have you finalized that yet?
Yeah, and we finalized it, and it's somebody that many of you know. Our new site manager is Amanda Boyd.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, so we're thrilled to have her and appreciate all that she has done and appreciate the way in which Sarah has trained her up so well. Thank you. And she'll start August 16th.
Great. Thank you so much. Any other questions that folks might have for Brooks?
I just wanted to ask Brooks, one of those first slides had a horse and buggy and some wooden buildings. Is there any historic local relevance to that picture, or is there a generic picture that you guys use?
That was, I think, taken from the presentation that Betty Eidner did, which was for the, what I call the Lunch and Learn, Sarah, where Betty was talking about what Hillsborough looked like in the 1850s.
Oh, so that is.
It wasn't specifically related to the Burwell School per se.
Okay. All right. That's what I want to know. Thank you, sir.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the town well in the middle of the street there on the North Churton side of the intersection, is it?
Wow, that's awesome. Huh.
Yeah, and I think those programs were recorded, were they not, Sarah? Aren't they archived?
They are. Yep.
Right. So I think all the pictures that would accompany that program probably you can get them there, Tommy.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Great. If there's no further questions for Brooks, you can hang around, Brooks. You can leave. You can do whatever you'd like, but we thank you for your quarterly report.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you all. Thanks.
You're welcome. And up next, Josh Collins with the Arts Council.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Let's see. I am going to, can you let me share, Shannon? I've got a little brief PowerPoint.
You should be able to share now.
All right. Well, let's see. Can you see my Q4 report? Is it there? Cool. So a couple of updates for everybody. Just a quick review of our annual operating budget and contract with you all. Q4 review. Funding for the quarter was around, was exactly actually $46,2950. Last time we spoke to you all, we had mentioned briefly that we had some strategies in place and goals to eventually hire some full-time staff and employ some local citizens and community members. And we're excited to announce that our gallery and gift shop manager, Molly Thomas, is being promoted to full-time executive director to lead our organization. She has done an absolute wonderful job in her position as gallery and gift shop manager for the past 6 months. And we're excited to have her promoted to full-time ED. We are also hiring Ivana Beveridge as she was previously our contractor for marketing. She is going to assume a full-time employment for our marketing director, as well as our acting program coordinator. The really cool thing about this is that's going to open up opportunity for another paid position for our gallery and gift shop manager. And we will be opening up that position in the next few weeks is the goal for applications. So if you know anybody that you feel would be a good candidate for that position, please do send them our way. So this is a just updated view of our organization, and we are really excited about those changes. Having brought on paid staff and paid employees, that we've been able to significantly increase the quality of our work product, particularly our marketing around Last Fridays, which has been the sole program we've had going on throughout this last Q4. Here are some examples of our social media graphics that we have put on. So as many of you know, we have decentralized our model for now to help spread the love around town. We're really focusing hard on trying to leverage what we're doing with Last Fridays and what we're doing with arts and music to have a legitimate impact on local businesses. And we believe that's a very real goal that's achievable. And we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from that. And here's just a couple of examples of how we're doing that. We've done some marketing around the Handmade Parade, which is being pushed this spring of 2022. But this is another example of some of our marketing collateral. We've also brought in paid resources, as Shannon and some of you all may know. We've been sharing our professional photography resources with the community, so the town and other organizations or businesses that have been photographed can leverage for their own marketing collateral at no additional cost. And we've seen some very high levels of engagement with that we'll go over from a social metrics, but we've also gotten a lot of exposure online and in the press from, we really believe that it correlates back to quality content and our marketing efforts. You know, picture in 1,000 words, right? So having really nice pictures gets you really nice exposure. So we were excited to see things like Chapel Hill Magazine Best Of featured Last Fridays as the only actual thing for Hillsborough and their bucket list items to do. So, and we had the main feature photo with Ayana, one of the poets, in front of Colonial Inn. So that was pretty cool to see that exposure. News of Orange ran a couple of pieces for us, and we're going to be in the Out and About for WRAL on August 11th at 7:30. Will be a feature for Hillsborough and Last Fridays as well. And that came as a result of the increased marketing exposure we're getting. All of that to say, we are really trying to take a concerted effort to focus on metrics and numbers that matter. If anybody wants these numbers, I'm happy to share this presentation with you or talk to you about these numbers. This is our Google Analytics, and essentially what it's showing over the fourth quarter is that we've had an 80% new visitor traffic rate. So this up here in the top right corner with the gold box are our Q4 site visitors. 80% were new visitors. Of those demographics, we're seeing a trend across all metrics that about 75% of our traffic and our visitors are actually from out of town and not in Hillsborough. So our web analytics show that as well at 23.04% in Hillsborough. Then Durham, Charlotte, Chapel Hill, and Raleigh are the next highest visitors locations from a geographic perspective. And our second highest landing page is Last Friday. So all of that to summarize, what people are doing now is they're searching more for Last Fridays in Hillsborough specifically. They're seeing us in the organic search results on Google, clicking on the Last Fridays page, which leads them directly to that landing page on our website. Here are some social media metrics that also show, our reach. We've got a pretty significant reach on our page likes, and our increase in our post reach is gone up over 118% for the quarter, as compared to the previous quarter. We've got a 72% increase on Instagram, and you can see on the right-hand side, our posts for last Fridays are consistently hitting the mid to upper 1,000, approaching 2,000 in the amount of people that get reached. And then in this middle section, you can see that our geographic data for both Instagram and Facebook is further supporting that 75% trend of out of town engagement, and specifically the immediate surrounding towns and people that are looking at last Friday's content. So our gallery and gift shop we use as a metric. Molly has done a really good job at tracking metrics and engaging and pulling customers that are coming in and looking at our gallery and gift shop on a week-to-week basis, but also tracking the impact last Fridays is having. So this is a very small sample of the impact last Fridays is having. And you can see from Q3, our estimated residents served has a 50% increase, in our estimated number of tourists has increased 125%, and the visitors to the gallery and gift shop, which again is a very small subset of the people coming to last Fridays, has 1,000% increase since last quarter. 75% of the people that we polled that came into the gallery and gift shop for Q3 were from out of town. So that's either our surrounding towns or out of state. So we're seeing that across all of our metrics and all of our data that we're really having a very strong pool of people that aren't just local Hillsborough. And this is an example of our webpage and our effort to actually give exposure to other businesses. So when we're talking about all of those people in the organic reach searching for last Friday's, hitting the last Friday's page, this is what they're seeing. They're seeing over 25 businesses, not just arts galleries, but actual local businesses that we're reaching out to every single month saying, hey, what do you have going on? Regardless of whether it's art specific or music specific, do you have anything going on for last Fridays? If so, let us know and we'll be happy to put it on our website. So we've seen a lot of engagement in that. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback from a couple of bars that have hit their all-time sales record month over month. The last Fridays, places like Antonia's have had 2-hour wait times on last Fridays. We're excited to try to extend to West End. That has been a process, but what we're tracking right now is to have a really nice arts vendor market, like down over at one of the parking lots off to the side, so that we're not worrying about obstructing any right-of-ways or traffic in the parking lot. But we have a really big focus on making sure that we're serving our friends on the West End as well. And incentivizing people to go to that block of town. So we're looking forward to implementing that in August. And that's it. That's what I got for you.
All right. Any questions for Josh? If not, Josh, you are certainly free to go. And I see Molly is with us as well, if she'd like to say hello or add anything to your presentation.
You're muted, Molly. There you go.
There you go.
Hey, sorry, y'all. Yeah, nice to meet you if I haven't yet. My name is Molly Thomas, and I'm really excited to be furthering my partnership with the Arts Council, and I look forward to getting to know each of you even better.
Great, thank you, and thank you, and congratulations, Molly, on joining, being promoted at the Arts Council, and I know we're looking forward to getting to know you better.
Thank you.
I will be bowing out moving forward and letting Molly step in every quarter. So it was nice to give some of these presentations to you. And the interim while we transition, but we're really excited for Molly, and I think she's going to do a lot for our community and bringing excellence and quality to our tourism efforts.
Great, thank you, and also thank you, Josh, for stepping in. I know that probably wasn't easy for y'all moving from full-time staff to needing to fill in, but appreciate you helping deliver these reports for sure.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
All right, next up is Tanja Brahmi, the new chair of the Orange County Historical Museum. And I guess we should go ahead and ask if Shannon needs to display a PowerPoint for you, Tanja.
Yes,
Yeah.
we've already. Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I have to say it's exciting to come on after hearing what everybody else has been up to this quarter, because there's a trend of this awakening, right? And bringing people back to Hillsborough. And I'm excited for the museum to be a part of that. You can go to the next one, Shannon. We started this year, and y'all have seen the story from others as the quarters have progressed, of going back to basics and making this the museum that we think it ought to be, to bring more people into Hillsborough, to increase collaboration with the other partner organizations, and just kind of, like I said, get down to basics. Part of that is refreshing our permanent exhibit with new items and new text. It was kind of clunky before. We want to make it fresh and new and bring additional information to our visitors. And part of that is our important weights and measures collection, which has got a more prominent position in the museum now. And one of the things that we've done over the last year or two is develop strategic objectives so that it's in line with our obligations to the tourism board and to the community. A big part of that is our collection. What does the museum give the community? We give the community access to our collection, which is really significant. And frankly, the collections inventory was in pretty bad shape. So we have just completed what we determined to be a strategic objective for the museum, which is a complete soup to nuts collections inventory using the catalog it cloud-based approach. So now if the community needs access to something, or we want to build an exhibit using things within our collection, we now have a really strong capability in doing that. All right. What's happening now in our fourth quarter, we've got our special exhibit date night, which our exhibits coordinator, Courtney Smith, really put together with a crowdsourced, a community sourced approach. And we've really thought that the community, once we opened, would need an exhibit that was fun, that would get people out and about, would get people to come into the Hillsborough area and into our museum. And this exhibit is really doing that. It showcases what it was like to go on dates in Orange County from 1900 through to 2000. And there are display cases that focus on each of those decades with fun, fashion, food, music, and individual stories as told by these community sourced items. We opened in April with a virtual program, and visitors started coming on site on the 23rd of April. We've got local partnerships to help fund this exhibit, and I think everybody's having a really good time with it. All right. We've got these boards that show the fashion trends and the food crazes of each of those decades, as well as individual stories and photographs from actual Orange County residents. And so people are bringing in their families saying, look, here are your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your uncle, or your old neighbor, with their stories being highlighted in the museum. Okay. Promoting date night has been something like all of the partner organizations, we've really reached out into the community. We've put out rack cards, numerous daily social media posts, press releases. We've been featured in the Daily Tar Heel, and specifically for date night had an interview on the Hill. All right. For the virtual opening event on the 22nd, we had about 67 people register and 35 attended. And we also had date night restaurants of Orange County on the 20th of May with 24 attendees to that. We're trying to tie into parts of the community with this exhibit so that it's not a museum standalone event, but instead is something that partners with each of our partner organizations and the community businesses, like Brooks talked about with their fashion exhibit. We've also had a series led by Tom Magnuson of online talks called the Networks of Early North Carolina History. These have been extraordinarily successful. And with our digital events during COVID, and in particular in the last quarter, we've grown the reach of the museum so significantly. We've got people participating from out of state. We've got people driving from out of state to come to the museum and to participate in these online kind of events. The second of the series that Tom has been giving is Carolina's first permanent European settlement. We had 196 people register and 76 attend. Okay. Our fourth quarter visitors, boy, have really gone up a lot. We've had 339 visitors on site and 135 virtually through programs. Now, you all know the museum was closed for over a year and then COVID happened. So to be able to re-enter the community space with these kinds of numbers is something we're really excited about. Our volunteer hours are obviously up with university students who are completing projects like cataloging research files, accessioning artifacts. We've got a young student that's created a kids activity booklet for date night and is also helping to run our Saturday gallery crafts. Importantly, the museum's now open for walk-ins. During much of the COVID period, people had to make appointments, but now we're open during our regular hours, Friday through Sunday, 11 to 4, still asking people to wear masks and following government protocols for COVID. Okay. Last Fridays, you know, the location of the museum has always been a problem for Last Fridays. Last Fridays has kind of stopped before people would get to the museum, but we've partnered with the Arts Council. We've got a sign. We're on their map, and the museum has been open for the last Last Fridays, which is bringing a lot of people down to the museum in a time that we're traditionally have been closed. So that's a big deal, and I think it increases our future attendance to the museum because the people that are coming in because of the good work from the Arts Council will come back to do, you know, a full visit of the museum. We also participated in collaboration with the Alliance in the Revolutionary War Living History Day. We opened during that and they sent people our way, we sent people their way. So I'm hoping that you all are seeing this theme of greatly increased collaboration between all of the partner organizations. And I know that we, and I think all of the organizations are seeing the benefit of that collaboration. Okay. Our new website, we have this virtual exhibit for date night. We've had 2 educational activities for date night available to people, information about our upcoming programs with registration links, and people are really coming to that site. We've had 1,435 site sessions with 970 unique visitors. That is such a significant expansion of our scope online, and we're hoping it really translates into increased visits as we go forward. We've got almost daily posts about collection artifacts and local history tidbits that people that are coming to our online events are now accessing on Instagram and Facebook in particular. promotion of programs, our friendship drive, our fundraising concert, and big town-wide events and stuff like that are also posted on our social media. We also have a small smattering of YouTube videos of some of the programs that we've done. We're ramping up again our educational activities, again with 2 lessons created for date night available on the website. There's menu math and also reading comprehension about the Carolina Coffee Shop, which is featured in our date night exhibit. We've also reached out to other partner organizations to build this Saturday kind of educational and craft activity scope for the town. We're doing that weekly now on every Saturday, with each month featuring a different activity. Thaumatropes in June, inventions in July, and in August we'll have bark buckets made as our activity for people coming in the museum. We're in the middle of our friendship drive to do what we need to do to make the museum what we want to make it. We need additional funds. We've started this year and we'll grow next year with fundraising drive. We call it our friendship drive. We've expanded that from May to August and are contacting individuals throughout the community around Orange County, not just Hillsborough. And we have a second wave coming with e-newsletters and mailed trifolds. We also had a fundraising concert in June on the courthouse lawn. Thank you, Shannon. And did a lot of promotion with that. We had posters around all of Orange County. We had yard signs, press releases, multiple press releases, a radio interview on Whoop with our artists, one that came in from Austin, and also have our wristband campaign where people share their stories. And we're making a chain of those stories so that people can become a part of Orange County history. It was exciting to bring music, of traditional music and newer music to the courthouse lawn for the community and kind of bring people out and think about the museum and think about the history of music in the area. Okay. So what's next? What do we do in the first quarter? We'll continue our virtual programs on August 5th with Tom Magnuson's Early Network program, and also have a 4th one in October. And we'll have our quarterly quote unquote peek and chat for museum friends in September. Those are people who gave a significant amount in our fundraising campaign, and they get to get a peek at some special items in our collection and learn about them. Like Sarah said, we've got plans for our programs to become hybrid, digital and in person starting in September, but we too will just play that by ear and see how things progress with the Delta variant. This date night exhibit is up through the end of the calendar year, and we're starting to plan for our next one. It will open in early 22. And the permanent exhibit will be revamped, focus on creating education and medicine-based displays. So we'll have a special part of the South Gallery that will focus on Orange County education and medical history. Fundraising and communication. Again, we've got the Friendship Drive, which ends in August, the Peek and Chat collections event planned in September. We've got another fall fundraising letter that'll go out in November, and our e-newsletter that'll go out in September as well. We're also partnering with the American Alliance of Museums. They've got a number of resources that are available to museums around the country. And one of the things that they're offering up is bringing in public servants into the museum. So we're starting to look at that as well. All right. Next, Shannon. Okay.
like that was the last
I
slide.
think that's yeah.
Oh, interesting. Well, there's more. Just let me talk through a couple of things. We've had, nope, that's it. It got repeated somehow. Okay. No, we're good. Thanks a bunch, Joe.
Awesome. Any questions for Tanja?
If you haven't come to see the date night exhibit, bring your friends. It's a lot of fun. Thanks. We'll see you next quarter.
I don't have a question. I don't
Yeah.
have a question. I just want to comment that, you know what, your comment on the collaboration with the other contract partners is absolutely seen. In my 3 years, this is by far the most I've seen the four work together. So I just want to say you're absolutely correct on that. And thanks, because that was one of the things we asked years ago was to see more of that. And I'm seeing it. So just want to say thank you for that.
Great. Thanks. I appreciate
Well,
that.
and I think that Tommy, to some extent, and Sarah, you can maybe correct me, but I really think that with maybe to a lesser extent with the Arts Council, I'm not sure if y'all had an MSA with the Arts Council. I don't think so, but I think the MSA, not a necessity for both Burwell and the Historical Museum, did bring, at least 3 of our organizations working more officially closer together, but then Arts Council as well with the outreach of folks like Anna Linville over and meeting with Tanja Brahmi and others has also brought that together. And then also, the Historical Museum I've seen working with the Chamber as well to promote. So I think there's a lot of good promotion and collaboration between all the nonprofits. Finally,
Yeah.
so that it's back.
I think it really brought some much needed structure to all of us, and that was a really positive thing.
Yeah. And it's growing. It's not going to stop. It's just starting. We've started having regular conversations with the Arts Council about how we can collaborate. The last Fridays is just a part of that. And I think that this is something that, well, I know the museum is interested in growing, and I think that the rest of the partner organizations are too, because it makes sense, right? Do you have all of this good stuff that's related instead of just individual programmatics? It gives people something bigger to come to Hillsborough for. And that's what we're all interested in doing. So stay tuned.
Very nice.
All right. Y'all have a good rest of your night.
Thanks.
I'm out.
Yeah. All right. I think that brings us, I only closed out my packet. No, there it is. I think that brings us to our monthly report and comments. And I'll turn it over to Shannon for tourism staff report. Here, I know it's always a little awkward when we have the quarterly report because it's kind of part of your quarterly report. But if you have anything else as well, that's great.
Yeah, I didn't have any major updates. I still don't have food and beverage tax numbers for you all, which I am not the most happy about. But the town, I mentioned this last month, the town's finance department has been pretty severely understaffed. So the new director, Tiffany Long, is working to get us all caught up on those numbers so that I have those to report to you all ASAP. If I get them before the next meeting, I'm going to go ahead and send them out because I know that we're kind of diligently watching how those food and beverage numbers are doing as a reflection of how our restaurant, pub, hospitality industry is doing. So it's important to be able to have them. And I think that she understands that. It's just a matter of kind of getting caught up. And then the only thing I would mention, I think I may have brought this up last month too, but we're pivoting our messaging from Find Your Calm in Hillsborough to the getaway you've been waiting for. And so we've started putting out ads with that tagline, and we're doing a handful of things through the visitor center with WUNC. We did a lot of promotion for that heirloom tomato event over at Burwell, and I was really pleased to see that they had a really good turnout at that event. I think it was really successful for them, so I was excited about that. And Orange County Visitors Bureau doesn't meet in July, so I don't have updates for them, but I'm not sure if Sarah has anything that she wants to add from the visitor center side. I shared the metrics from the WRAL campaign. That went really well, and Sarah and I have a meeting with those folks tomorrow afternoon to discuss other ways we might partner with them in the future, because we got some really good metrics from those ads and articles that we did on with WRAL.
The only other thing I would add is, and I think I said this about us reopening, it's all just like month by month at this point. So that's it.
Yes, and I appreciate your patience with me as to we're meeting in person, we're not meeting in person. Here's the back and forth, because as of, I think, Thursday afternoon, I still wasn't exactly sure what we were going to be doing before the governor's press conference. So.
Well, thank you for being nimble and for keeping us up to date. And I know it's a very wacky world, and I know some of our members appreciate and understand that, but we're all just kind of fumbling along.
Oh, I did have another quick update. Member Nick Beery did resign. So we do currently have 2 seats open. We have one for food and beverage taxpayer. So either someone who works or represents a food or and beverage taxpayer, or and then the other seat, Nick's seat, was an at-large seat. So we'll be advertising for both of those seats soon if you know of anyone who may be interested.
And I think it would be good for us to also recognize that one of the things that Nick did bring up in stepping off was maybe a desire for our boards, and I think the boards maybe just generally town-wide to have some more diversity. So if you know someone in that
Absolutely.
who comes from a diverse background, maybe it's something they live somewhere else in town, or they're a minority, or anything that I think counts as diversity. Certainly,
well, in this town would be a conservative, but you guys don't want those on the board. So that's the most diverse thing you can put in this town right now, but nobody wants that.
Well, way to represent, Tommy. I think you're doing great.
Yeah, I'm all by myself though.
Really?
Well, yeah, really, all by myself. We have we're not opening tomorrow because we don't have enough staff, because our state senator or state congressman doesn't think that the unemployment benefits that we've extended have anything to do with this. So yeah, it's getting personal now, and it's getting hard, and now we're closing, and people that get paid by the hour in my business are not happy that losing a day of work. So when I hear diversity in this town, Matt, every time I'm going to say that, because that's what we need. We need both parties representing this town, not one. And skin color is not the only diverse thing we can do in this town. Ideas bring the best communities together. And when one party is in control of everything, it never works out, ever.
Tommy, related to hiring, I saw that you were participating in one of the hiring events put together by the county. Have you seen anything from that?
Yeah, 6 people showed up because they're getting paid to stay home. 6. Spent 4 hours there on a Friday when we could be working, and 6 people showed up looking for jobs, and with 34 people were there hiring. 6 people showed up. So please, Matt, do what you can with your party to get people back to work, okay? Because it is absolutely the reason that we're closing tomorrow for the first time in 10 and a half years on a Tuesday, because we don't have enough staff to run the kitchen. And your party thinks this unemployment benefit extension has nothing to do with it. Sorry, man, I'm just talking from my heart.
Well, I appreciate that, and I will say I do appreciate diversity in all forms. And if folks who are of a more conservative background want to apply to these town boards and commissions, they certainly can. And
I'm not
open to
asking for
people
more conservatives. I'm asking for more
places.
diversity. I'm not asking for more conservatives. I just want more different-minded people coming together, because that's what makes the community better. And you can all disagree with me. That's fine. But my goodness, we bring different ideas to the table, and when we come together is when a community thrives, right? And I see this community failing because only one party is represented. That's all. I'm sorry to get so deep on you guys, man, but I'm closing tomorrow and there's a bunch of people. I'm fine. I don't need to work tomorrow to make money to live. But there's people that are mad that we're not opening tomorrow because there's not enough people working side by side to get a paycheck tomorrow. And that's why I'm going like this tonight, because tomorrow's the first day. And I hope it doesn't last long. But you guys have to understand that paying people to stay home as a party, you guys doing this as a party, is not working. Okay? I know it brings votes, but it's not working. It's not working.
Yeah, Tommy, I think we're seeing that. I participate in an economic development group with the other municipalities in the county, in the region, and everyone is seeing this labor shortage issue, especially in hospitality. It's really hard.
Hey, we're paying well over twice the amount of unemployment, or excuse me, of minimum wage, right? And that was part of the goal of this. I get it. Biden wants us to pay more to the restaurant workers. I get it. And we are. I can't think, I mean, people, I think they were talking about a cook not showing up the other day at $22 an hour to start. He's like, oh, I can make almost that staying home. I mean, this is getting crazy, right? And Greg Meyer doesn't see it because his little business is all professionals, probably making $60,000, $70,000 salaries. And he's like, I just don't see anyone not wanting to come to work. Well, of course, at that salary, you're going to have those. You're not going to have the issues. But at 15, 16 bucks an hour, I mean, I'm not kidding you. 15, 16 bucks an hour to come in and scoop barbecue and make mac and cheese. No one wants to do it. Where 10 years ago, $8.50 would make that work. And I'd have 10 applications for every job. So tell me what the difference is, right? And this is relevant. You're probably saying, what's this relevant to do what with tourism? Well, guess what? When we only open 5 days instead of 6, how much do you think we're going to put into the revenue pot? I mean,
Well, I think that's the point. What funds the tourism program here in Hillsborough?
People going to Hillsborough barbecue and spending money.
You got that right. And we're also in a county with a 3% or lower unemployment rate. So you got to recruit. I mean, so then you've got the extra challenge of recruiting from outside.
Well, that would be why that would
already has less than 3% unemployment rate.
Well, that would be why 95% of my workers live in Alamance County, right? Because they can't afford to live in this county. So we can talk all we want about how wonderful it is and how diverse we are. You know what? We don't want low-income people living in Chapel Hill and Hillsborough. If we did, you would make it affordable for us to live here. It's so backwards. It is so backwards. Who wants to drive from Graham to work at Hillsborough Barbecue? Nobody. But you guys out tax everyone. This is the highest tax county in the state. And then everyone's fine with that. But we talk about diversity. You don't want low-income people living in this town. If you did, the tax rate would be low enough for them to afford to live here. I'm sorry, I need to sign off because my blood is going crazy because I hear you say diversity, but you don't mean it. You don't want more like me on a board. You don't want people that can live in this town and afford to live here. You know, how embarrassing as a town leader that 95% of my employees have to drive from the next county over that has one of the lowest tax rates to work here. When does that ever get talked about in a Hillsborough town meeting? Sorry, guys. It's got. Us closing tomorrow has gotten to the point where I'm speaking my mind now because we can't. Yes, you're right. We have a 3% unemployment rate, but not for people that work in restaurants. And guess what? My restaurant contributes a heck of a lot to this fund that we're all standing here on this board, other than the fast foods. But yet it's going to go down significantly unless we make some changes. And no one wants to make any changes because, anyway.
Barry, how are you doing with staffing? I'm just curious because I know that Tommy sounds like he's having a really hard time with staff. And I've heard from other restaurants, I mean, Tommy's not alone. I've heard from other restaurants that are really struggling too.
Yeah, we're in the same boat. You know, Ours is a little bit, ours is a lot different because, most of our staff is, they're 18 and under. We have a few older, but for the most part, they're younger. But even in that group, we're having trouble, getting staffed. I mean, especially now, most of our solid people that have been there for a while are going off to school now or back to school or, so we're in the same boat with you, Tommy. I mean, I feel awful that you're closing tomorrow. No one should have to do that for these reasons. But I don't have the answers. I don't necessarily think it's all politics. It comes down to a lot of personal decisions too. People just for one reason or another, are choosing not to work right now. And obviously money is the biggest thing, but yeah, we're struggling too, in answer to your question.
But Tommy, I would say that I think you and I would agree 80% of the time on most of what you just said. I can't help the composition of the town and how it votes, but I do believe that what we see in terms of economic development and thus property taxes is something that's been decades in the making. It precedes me being on a town board, precedes me being born. And those were land use decisions and economic development decisions that were made decades ago that continue to make it harder for folks to be able to afford to live here. And I get it. I occasionally think about buying a house and I look at how much property values are in Hillsborough alone. And I've just come to the conclusion I'm not probably going to be able to buy a house in Hillsborough and continue to rent for the very long conceivable future. So
everything you said is right. And it's sad, but you can't buy a house in your own town. But the same party being in charge all these years is the reason for that. There's no other reason. There's none. And I'm sorry to say it. Somebody needs to. And that doesn't get us the solutions. I'm not here to complain about the past. I would love solutions. I would love a workforce that lives in the local community that wants to work at one of the best barbecue places in the state. Because it is. Sorry, it just is. It's wood cooked. It's done the right way. But when I got to bring people in from Alamance to work here, and I keep hearing about how wonderful and diverse Hillsborough is, I just got to put the hand up and go, really? Is it really that diverse? When people that make under $35,000 can't even buy a house in this town, right? It's and you're right. It's not you. It's not the current board. I get it, but the direction and the lack of diversity in the board, I might want to say it that way, are the reason why it'll never change. And that's all I'm saying right now.
Yeah, Tommy, to your point, I think that what Matt was saying was that our boards tend to not be diverse enough in lots of different ways. And that is a challenge. Affordability is a challenge. It's something, and this doesn't have a whole lot to do with tourism, but more with my role in the planning department and with economic development in general. Is affordability is a huge issue that we're going to have to try and tackle as best we can. Affordable housing is a piece of that puzzle. I know that doesn't solve our current staffing issues at our restaurants and our bars, and everyone's kind of feeling the pinch on that. So I appreciate you bringing it up.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry to get as hasty as I was, but when people, like I said, I'm not worried about what I'm not making tomorrow. That's not important. But when people are coming to me saying, I can't believe my hours are dropping, when they are the ones that have supported this business through the whole COVID, are the ones coming to me saying, I can't believe we're going to 4 days. So guess what? I got a bunch of people in tomorrow splitting wood and cleaning kitchens, because I got to take care of the ones that actually wanted to work during the pandemic, because they're the only reason we're still here. And to take a day away from them, man, is the reason why I'm so upset. It shouldn't be that way. I should have a bunch of people that want to come work at Hillsborough Barbecue. It's a great business. It is fun. We treat everyone well. We have a diverse staff. I mean, at least 30% of our staff is African-American, right? It's just wonderful. But when you pay people more to stay home, you give them the choice. And right now they'd rather not work. And no one in our government, local or state, has said to me, "You're right. We need to get them back to work." And that's why I'm so upset right now. It's just, everyone that's in a profession, most of you are professionals in this, and I get it. You don't see what we're talking about, but man, just getting a bunch of high school kids in that have a work ethic, that want to make $12 an hour, work through the summer. I mean, you can't even get high school summer help right now. I mean, are you kidding me? For $12 an hour? God, I did that for a third of that 30 years ago. Anyway, I'm sorry. I've gone way too long, and I apologize for that. And thank you all for staying on, because it means a lot. It really does.
I appreciate you, sharing your perspective. I mean, I think it's important, and I say that genuinely and honestly. And I think when we look at certain things, one of the reasons it's easier for businesses to go to Alamance County, for example, the state incentivizes them more than Orange County. They have almost no land use regulation in the county. That drives up, or does not drive up, the cost of land. There's a lot of things that just work to Alamance's benefit, and they don't change what they're doing because it's working for them.
Right.
To our detriment here in Orange County. So, and I do think that more people need to be honest about that certain policy preferences come with trade-offs, some good, some bad, and being honest about those. So, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Any other board comments?
Nope.
All right. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn. No one go all at once.
Move.
Barry, is there a second? To adjourn?
Yeah, I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Moved by Barry, seconded by Kathleen. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Vote was unanimous, and we'll see you next month.